We're in pre-show banner right now. This is it.
We're just not as good at pre-show banter as some of the others.
No, we lost Jeffrey. His internet just went out on him.
Nice.
After he was complaining that his internet kept dropping out.
And then there were 3.
Right when we hit the live button, there he goes. Poor Jeffrey. All right, it's May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, however you want to say it, the day after Star Wars Day, and we have a cast of rookies here today. Me, who's not the Infosec guy, but I'm joined with Dale and Noah, who are fairly new to BHIS, but they're the experts. And we had Jeffrey, but we think his internet died on him just as we were going live. He might pop back in, hopefully. We will see. We got a couple of articles lined up, and I believe you guys wanted to start with the Dell stuff, correct?
I was actually thinking the help desk, but we can do Dell either.
Help desk. I'll go to help. I'll go into what you want. All right, who's explaining this one for us?
So Dale, you posted it if you want to start on that one, and
this is actually Jeff's one, but
this was Jeff's, right?
Oh, that's great pick. Great first pick.
I mean, I can kind of paraphrase it to an extent. I mean, it's interesting because it basically just talks about the fact that, I mean, realistically, it's never a good idea to just reset passwords blindly for anyone who calls and says, "Oh, hey, I'm so and so. Like, please reset my password." And they're like, "Oh yeah, let's do it." Like, obviously that's a poor idea. I mean, this kind of just goes over some general ideas. I mean, obviously you should really read it and evaluate for your own needs some, but I think it's a good conversation starter just in regards to what do we think are some good practices in regards to help desk security and how they should take care of that, because it's a difficult situation. I worked help desk for a while, and it's sometimes pretty hard when someone who claims to be the manager just calls and's like, "Hey, I need you to reset so and so's password." Like, even though they're the manager, like, does that really give them? I guess that's kind of a good starting point. Like, is it okay if the manager calls and asks for a password reset for an employee? Like, is that an acceptable thing? Because in theory, you're giving that manager now full access to imitate that employee.
Yeah, I don't agree with the manager being able to reset. I mean, that's similar to anytime you're being asked to do an investigation on a user's browser activity or something like that. That type of stuff, in my opinion, is that stuff should come from HR. So if the user themselves isn't asking or isn't the one requesting the password reset, then the request should have some approval from HR. Now, is that realistic and sustainable? Maybe, maybe not. But what we do see a lot is when you call your bank or the IRS or Revenue Canada, whoever they do make you do some verification of your account, but most of the time within a business or an organization, my experience has been that when you pick up the phone and say, "Hey, can you reset my account?" all they really ask you is your name. They don't really do anything to verify that you are who you're saying that you are.
This sounds a little bit like it ties into what you were talking about on Monday with your account getting hacked, your credit. It's a hard thing, especially with information that sensitive. I mean, how do you prove? How do you take DNA tests? I mean, how far can we go on this?
Yeah, I mean, and it's really interesting if you think about the data that's in like Active Directory. You don't necessarily have like the employee's social security number stored in there, so you're kind of limited to an extent on what you can actually use for verifiable information sometimes. And I think that's just an interesting concept. Like, what can I use to actually verify an employee who has called me and said, "Hey, I'm so-and-so, I've locked myself out," or "I forgot my password." I mean, I can be like, "Who's your manager?" I mean, that's a good start, but that's also just available on Facebook. How far do you go?
The question for the ages. And I just got a ping from Jeffrey saying his internet did drop out, and he's trying to get back on here. So when he does, we will bring him back up, and maybe he can add something for this. But give me one of your favorites.
Yeah, let's. I mean, I'm cool with looking at Signal if that works with you, Dale.
All right, bringing that one up full.
All right, so this one was kind of one that I picked out. I liked it just because of what it talks about. my thing with Signal is usually something from Signal is usually prompted by another action, and from what I've seen, in my opinion. And I think this kind of has to deal with iOS's release of the anti-tracking features in their iOS software. It's an interesting concept of basically Signal has launched a ad campaign using some of the data collected by Facebook for their targeted ads and that kind of stuff. They're just kind of going over that, which I just find it interesting and kind of cool. But at the same point, obviously, Instagram, Facebook just ripped this down as soon as it started going out for obvious reasons. But yeah, I mean,
I find it interesting that the amount of personal information in here to be a little, I don't know, concerning, I guess. I mean, on one hand, I guess I'm not surprised that they have all this information, like, you know, newlywed Pilates instructor, and you like cartoons, and, you know, parenting blogs, and I don't know, to piece it all together, kind of, you know, if I was to receive something like this, my first thought would be like, what the heck? Where did you get this information from?
It's so easy to overshare with social media that kind of gives you a little bit of shock about, wait, this is what they're doing with the stuff that I'm putting on here. I thought I was just talking to friends and family, and here's this company it feels like they're spying on me. It's a good way to call it out. I mean, this stuff has been called out over and over for years now.
They don't really think of the stuff that's being posted. You know, this stuff is probably targeted more to adults just based on the content of it, or the examples at least anyways. But when you have young kids who just post stuff, you know, nilly-willy all over the place, and every little aspect of their lives, they don't really seem to really clue into what the repercussions of that are. And this kind of, to me, this kind of really focuses in on like, they piece all those little bits of information that may or may not have been made in the same context, but just, you know, little examples here or messages here and there, and they kind of piece it together.
It's a snippet of reality behind the scenes.
Well, and one thing that I didn't see directly covered on this, but I mean, if Facebook knows that you're into newlywed Pilates, they know who your spouse is, who your children are, and to an extent, they can extrapolate that, hey, they're with these other people. They probably have some similar viewpoints. Those lines can be drawn. And then on the top of that, not everyone realizes just how much information you share. I mean, that gets said a lot, but some people don't know that there's a significance in Facebook knowing your location at all times. There's a lot of people that you don't necessarily want to know your location at all time. And I would say that Facebook is probably one of those people. But
yeah, especially when their business is to make money off of you. It's definitely feels like a long-term bait and switch sometimes, where all these startups offer you this free service, and it seems great. And then how are they still alive? They're not charging me for anything. So what's going on here?
Anytime where you are not the customer, you are the product. It is kind of the motto I take with that. Like, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And in this case, this is how Facebook makes money as a business.
I feel like Google, the industry's kind of a broken record, and we're probably talking to the choir a little bit about that. But it's just one of those things that you got to just keep repeating, because there still are so many people that don't realize what's going on because they're just not paying attention to it, or for whatever reason. Yes, definitely. And like you said,
you're paying for it one way or the other. You're paying for it. You're not be paying for it in cash out of your pocket, but you're, like, as you said, you are the product in this case. So,
and maybe you're okay with that. Maybe that's not a bad thing for who you are, but not everybody is. And especially if it's without your knowledge, that's a completely different story.
Yeah. You hear people talk like more so around the credit breaches and stuff like that. Oh, my data's out there already anyway, so why should I bother keeping anything private? Well, I guess you could argue that as well. Like, we've got so much of our lives out on social media these days that is anything really private and personal anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my only counter to that is, like, if you did have some semblance of privacy before that, like, you shot it to heck when you did the rest of it. But like, you might as well at least attempt it, because there might be one thing that they don't actually know that's actually worth keeping. But it's kind of a double-edged sword. And, you know, people ask questions if you're like, oh, no, I don't do the social media thing. They're like, oh, are you a Luddite? You know, fun stuff.
All right, what else we got here?
Dell?
Go for the Dell.
Yeah, the Dell one's interesting. And I mean, the fact that it's, you know, an undisclosed bug that's been there for 12 years.
Wow, I didn't realize that. 12 years.
That's a long time to have I mean, but when you think of some of the other
has it
big stuff, are we really surprised nowadays? I know I read this and I thought, okay, well, here goes another one. But at the same time, I was like, wow, 12 years.
Undisclosed means that somebody knew about it for 12 years.
Yeah.
So who knew about this exactly for 12 years? Did Dell know this for 12 years?
I didn't see anything in the article as to who it was that reported it. There are some bugs. There's a couple of CVEs in there that they referenced in there. So it kind of leads me to think that somewhere somebody had reported something. Sentinel Labs, I guess, says they have a proof of concept exploit that they are holding until June 1st, at which point they're going to release it if it's not fixed. So I guess we could probably expect to see something to do with this one in the wild in the next month or so.
So is this one of those bugs where they considered it low priority and nothing's happening in the wild, so let's not spend any time on it. Let's let's put our energy.
They're probably thinking,
else.
hey, it's been 12 years and nothing's happened with it yet, so let's not rush it, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, if you look at the first two that are up there, they're related to memory issues, and I've not done a ton with memory issues, but my understanding is that they're not exactly the easiest thing in the world to fix sometimes. So now input validation, you should have been able to catch that, in my opinion. But yeah, memory issues, sometimes they're just like, oh, that's a lot of work and nobody knows about it, so why would we fix it?
The nice thing is that Dell did release an update or a patch for it. So as long as you're doing your security updates and your patches and whatnot, you should be covered with this if you're doing, if you're doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
This patch was released actually just yesterday.
There we go.
So
it seems crazy to me that a company like Dell, as big as they are, could know about this for that long and not even take the opportunity to redesign anything in their computers going forward. It's like, okay, maybe we don't want to bother going back to patch it, but
I didn't see anything in the article that indicated that they knew about it, other than that they released a patch yesterday, and the article was dated yesterday as well, I think, was it not?
Yeah, I guess I just interpreted it. It's been there for 12 years, and the code base around that particular area hasn't changed. But kind of like the Meltdown Inspector stuff, where they had been around for several years, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, we found this thing," and yeah, of course, that was a whole other can of worms. But it just really old vulnerability that just was never really found.
I see. So it was just it's been there for 12 years, but it was fairly recently discovered.
Yeah,
is what that means.
Mine as well.
That's my interpretation of it, anyhow.
At least publicly. All right, that makes sense now.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about, specifically Dell, because I worked with a Dell shop for a while, is that like if you're not using something like Support Assist or one of their other update applications, like you're not going to get the update for the firmware update driver. And so like that just is interesting. And of course, like then you have the issues and the fact that Support Assist has a ton of vulnerabilities around it. So are you in fact introducing more vulnerabilities into your system by adding this extra patching system that is anyhow? I mean, really, it's where you're looking to the third party patching providers that it starts to work a little better. But on the consumer base, I mean, I don't expect the consumers to be rushing out to go get this update, and it affects them as well. So,
So how could a consumer get updated for that? Would it be just a firmware thing that Dell releases through their own software mechanism?
If they're running like Support Assist or something like that, then it should automatically download that in theory on the consumer side of things. The other option is they'd have to go to Dell's website and go to the support
and they
tab,
have to know to go to Dell's website.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that you have to know to go look for this unless you have the Dell
most consumer grade laptops
channel coming in.
For most people, no, that's it comes bundled in, right? So unless you're like us Infosec people, who probably the first thing you do when you open the box is format and reinstall Windows, most of those people are going to have that software on there. Now, what does it auto update? I don't think so. I think it probably pops up and says, hey, you have some updates, and you probably still have to click the button to do it. So yeah, I would like to believe that a lot of people will say, okay, sure, I'll just click that and update. Why not? But there's probably going to be a lot of people who either don't pay attention to it, or they've removed the application, or the application doesn't work anymore, or whatever the case is. So I don't know. Some will, some won't, I guess.
especially if it's something that you need to restart for.
Yeah, I mean, if it breaks, there's not an IT guy to go fix it for you later or whatever.
Yeah. Now, on a commercial side of things, I would hope that most IT people seeing this article are going to go out and download that update and push it out through whatever they use, SCCM or Tanium or whatever it is that they use. Oh, so hopefully that one gets out before the proof of concept hits public information. But did we touch on the pingback one already?
I think we're just really efficient, is what it comes back.
The pingback one, I know it's one that's been probably hashed a number of times.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
I've not used pingback for C2 myself. I've used it for data exfiltration in some cases, but this is interesting. I don't know if it's new to anybody out there or not, but ICMP is enabled for almost every organization that I've seen, at least anywhere, ways for troubleshooting. So now it just seems like, if people are going to be using it for C2 channels now, is it time to just say, hey, you know what, forget it, it's too risky, just let's just close that door.
Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon to see IMCP opened or up in the enterprise through the firewalls, and that was the biggest thing I saw with it when I looked at this. Like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool, and the fact that it's going out via that channel. But at the same point, it also seems like I've seen more of them locking that down as well as time goes by. They're kind of coming to that conclusion. So I think this will just push it further in the fact that, yeah, it's probably just getting to the point where it's too risky at this point. But at the same point, you've got to be able to ping 8.8.8.8.8. Like, otherwise, how do you know your internet even works? I mean, that's just how you know.
Should we talk about the divorce?
Well, I mean, that one made me sad. That one made me sad, to be honest. I mean, anytime you see a divorce come up, it's scary. It's unfortunate.
It's like if they can't make it happen, how is anybody else going to make it happen?
Yeah, I mean, 27 years, and they've got their charitable foundation that they've got together, and I'm kind of curious what's going to happen with that. Will they dissolve it, or will they? Is it an amicable divorce?
I'd be surprised if they dissolve that.
They said they would still work together, and they were still going to work together as partners on the foundation, is what I saw. But
yeah, so it kind of reminds me back of the of the Amazon guy, Jeff Bezos or whatever his name was, when him and his wife split, right? Like, didn't really seem to be like there was any major impact to Amazon itself. So hopefully there's nothing really major.
In fact, the money he lost in the divorce, he made up well, I don't know how quickly, but rather quickly.
Well, let's be honest, the amount of money he lost in divorce is more than most of us are ever going to see in our lives anyway. So
that's true, but it's not like it didn't hurt him at all. It was just a small bump in the road, and he gained it all back eventually. It's like, good gosh, what a way to live. All right, what'd you send me here, Noah?
I did add in an article about some iOS 0 days, it looks like.
All right,
I mean, it's not a ton to talk about, but it looks like there was it has the potential for some drive-by RCE, which is interesting just because, for those who don't know, and because we have a ton of time, drive-by RCE just meaning that essentially you browse to a web page and it will execute through your browser. And that's always a fun thing. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you see at like Pwn to Own and that kind of stuff. And I find those very interesting because some people are like, well, if I do it in the browser, I've literally seen people who are like, well, I won't download the app, but I'll go visit in the browser. Like, I'm okay with that concept. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. The browser can be just as susceptible. Now we'll let the actual hackers talk.
Jeff has returned.
Hi, Jeff.
You're a little low volume.
This one also, looking at it, it's not just one bug that they're addressing here. There's 4 different CVEs that they're addressing.
There's 4 CVEs.
I mean, they just patched this like a week ago too, didn't they?
Yeah, it's a fairly recent patch.
Yeah, it came out immediately. A bunch of updates earlier this week. It was a point update for security.
And it looks like some of these have been around since iOS 12.
So welcome back, Jeff. You back with us on audio?
I believe I'm back with y'all on audio.
We did want you to talk about which one was the service desk one?
Yeah.
We were going to ask you to, since it was one of your links, I think it was.
Yes, it was. I'd like to be able to be heard. Can you hear me okay?
I think you're loud enough to be heard.
Okay, well that's good. This just came out today, and it just kind of hit near and dear to my heart, which is the whole password policy and how passwords are reset by help desk, and what we as security professionals can do to offer guidance, as well as what we as information technology individuals can do. This has always been a big issue, and will probably continue to be one until we can really get our hands around it. I can speak from experience, having seen this firsthand. It's not easy to deal with, but there's a couple of things to think about, which I've seen firsthand, which is passwords being reset by help desk. First of all, the whole process really needs to be reviewed at an organization level. Proving who you are, because I have seen several instances where anybody could call in and reset a help desk for a user just because they sound like the user, or the user's a boy, it's a boy on the phone, it must be them. So in addition to just verifying who they are, a common issue that we also discussed internally as well was sometimes you can't check that checkbox that says force to reset password, and so that may require some additional steps to be taken for the IT organization. One thing I've seen done in the past was, if someone calls in for a password reset, let's the help desk, don't just close the help desk. Let's keep that help desk open and live, and let's check back on that user and actually make sure they actually reset their own password. So if not, let's reach out and give them a soft touch, saying we do need you to reset your password as soon as possible in order to maintain security measures here at our company. There are also several systems, SIMs that I've come across, which you can actually flag users in the SIM to kind of remind you at a SOC level that this user's password has been changed or reset, so that you can watch them and can actually, coordinate those efforts with your help desk personnel to let them know, hey, Mary reset her password today. I just wanted to let you know she's already changed it again, so you can go ahead and close that help desk. So, it's a little give and take beside both sides of the organization. IT and security, sometimes get caught on the opposite sides of the spectrum, but in reality, we're all really on the same team, and we need to work together to help solve these problems.
It really only takes a couple extra seconds to actually even just stay on the line with them, because they're already calling you. You've already got them on the phone. They're calling to change the password. Is it really going to take that much more of your time to spend the extra 30 seconds? With, hey, why don't you just go ahead and change it right now? I'll wait with you on the phone just in case you have any issues. They get the password changed, and they don't have to worry about it again. You don't have to worry about it again. You don't have to set yourself a reminder to go back to it a little bit later. And again, what's an extra 30 seconds in the day?
Exactly.
Really?
But it's 4:59 and I clock out at 5. Come on.
I guess.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, the other thing I find interesting is what do you do? How do you verify that the user is actually who you're talking to, especially if you don't have access to the HR system? If you're working solely with information in Active Directory, what can you use for verifiable information for the end user?
Internally, one of the things we actually did have set up, or we were working on setting up, wasn't actually full grown live when I left, but we were actually working on a set of security questions that the user had to pick. It wasn't just data in Active Directory. The help desk could actually view this information and actually know that the person they're talking to is validating the information to at least give you a reasonable effort that this is the person you're speaking to. I mean, obviously, you can't rely on the common things, which is caller ID is not one I would rely on at all, just because it's so easy to compromise caller ID or spoof it. So you really need to rely on additional information. One thing we looked at in some cases, we actually had to call the person back on a known cell phone number that we had for them on file. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it.
That's a good idea. I like that one.
Yeah, Ben just posted it in the chat there. In a large organization, 30 seconds is huge. If you have 100,000 users and getting several hundred password resets per day, that's a lot of time. And yeah, it is. I kind of, I'll push that back. Like, if you're getting hundreds of password resets a day, why are you getting so many password resets? Are your users forgetting their passwords? Is your password requirements too complex? There's got to be some reason. So maybe at this point, we would maybe want to go and look at the underlying reasons as, okay, well, why is there so many password resets? I'm not saying that, that password resets aren't going to happen, because they do. I know I've worked in places where we have quite a lot of password resets every single day as well. But on the same note, yes, it's 30 seconds, and yes, those 30 seconds could add up, but it's 30 seconds now or a massive potential breach, next week or later today, right? So
breaches take a lot of time too.
Yeah, so it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen the other, right? So
yeah, that's a good one. I mean, another thing that I've seen done, if you're utilizing a solution like Okta or something like that, you can actually have a multi-factor password reset option, which is a good one in my opinion. So if you haven't looked into that, that's definitely worth looking into. But yeah, and the just standard Active Directory help desk, if you have pretty limited information, you about have to resort to some sort of on file information, either security questions or I like the idea of the cell phone number. I like that one a lot actually. But of course, you're still going to get that user who's going to be like, oh, hey, I changed my cell phone last week, and for some reason my password was stored in my cell phone. I don't know. They'll find a way around that, but it'll just mean that you'll have to have a process in place for when they try to get around that that.
I'm a big fan of the self-service password reset options. Now, the downside of those is that they have to have some way to validate, and it usually ends up going back to what's your mother's maiden name, what's your favorite food, what was your you name your first dog, all the stuff that you find on social media, right? Even though you put those in place, you're still going to have the people who are like, oh, well, I'm busy, I don't have time to deal with that, I'm just going to call the help desk. Don't worry, right back to square one.
But yeah, let's keep in mind that like any information security or any IT problem for that matter, there is never going to be a one size fits all. So it's really about getting the conversation started internally and looking at solutions, because the first idea your organization looks at probably will not be the one you go with. But you got to drive those conversations. Get the business leaders involved, and together, make it actual drive to get this problem fixed. Because if you just kind of keep making up all the reasons why it won't work, the problem will never get resolved, and potentially your company could be the one next on the big breach list. And honestly, a breach is the kind of thing that puts companies out of business.
I think we went through our links. That might be our show.
Yeah, I was trying to hunt up another one, but I wasn't having a ton of luck.
That's all right. It's good to have a short show. It's about 30 minutes here. We did win 30 minutes. Back. Not too bad for the rookie crew.
Yeah, and I like I said, I mark this up to efficiency. Like that's the only thing that comes to my mind.
Well, let's wrap this up then. Our next one's going to be Monday, of course. We'll see if the whole gang comes back on. Next Wednesday, I believe, is our Backdoors and Breaches Day. If we stick to that schedule, we'd be doing a live Backdoors and Breaches instead of the news. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. And if you have no idea what that is, it is
then you should check that out.
You definitely want to check that out.
There we go. Yeah, tell us, Noah. You do it a better job of explaining it than I'm going to.
I'm wow. Okay. Being put on the spot, but Backdoors and Breaches is my equivalent of cybersecurity Dungeons and Dragons, and it's just awesome in the fact that you can sit down, do a tabletop simulation. It's actually something you can do at work. I mean, not a lot of people are going to be like, oh yeah, you can just play Dungeons and Dragons in the conference room. That's perfectly fine. But if you do it on a Friday afternoon, you can play Backdoors and Breaches in the conference room with your security team, and it's just an interesting game. Definitely check out the stream. They'll teach you a lot about it. And if you want to get a deck, you should check out the Spearfish General Store. And we will work on getting a link for that or something.
It's a really great way to really look at your organization from a security perspective too when you're using it internally, because it can actually point out or allow you to find potential issues in your incident response plans. So you actually could plan for those things in advance, which is a really, really helpful tool. Because I tell you, turning something like that and gamifying it can actually bring people into the mix that normally wouldn't be interested. But when you turn it into a game, everyone's really excited, and it actually brings a lot of visibility to your information security program as a whole.
Yeah, and that just helps out later on with your response if you actually have an actual incident. So
yes.
And Ryan, do we know? Can we get are the expansion decks out officially yet?
I can't say. I know it's very close, but I don't have the inside.
If they're not out yet, Joshua, they will be soon.
Yeah, it's going through final stages. I can say that much because that's as much as I know.
With much anticipation.
But they're coming. And I think I saw something that said the decks were sold out on the Spearfish store. Say that 3 times fast. But of course, we're going to make some more. Yeah. There's going to be more.
But we always have them at the table at Wild West Hackin' Fest as well. So
yeah, if you're guys are going out to Reno, we are doing our first event in Reno, Nevada this year. I got that link too. Wild West Hackin' Fest, way west. I'll drop that. I'll put it in the show notes. How about that? Because I'm about to wrap this up. Any last words? I think we're going to wrap it up.
Go patch your Dell equipment.
Any last words?
Go patch your Dell.
Yes,
definitely go patch your Dell.
Go patch your Apple if you haven't.
Patch all the things.
You really
apparently.
Shouldn't by now. Yeah, just patch all the stuff and don't randomly reset passwords.
Yeah. All right. See you guys later.
Thank you.